Hey everyone, my name is Bryon Howard. I'm a Calgary realtor who has sold an average of a house a week since moving to this great city in 2003. And this is Calgary Living, Real Estate and Lifestyle. I'm interviewing Calgary's top performers as it relates to living and lifestyle in our great city. Some of the podcasts will be real estate decisions specific, but most will be about life in Calgary and why we choose to live here, or at least why you should visit. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of Living in Calgary. Today on the show, I have the great honor of having, I forgot to pronounce your name correctly, Jyoti Gondek. Did I get it right? Yeah?
You're so close. Gondek. Perfect.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show. Mayoral candidate, Jyoti, I am so impressed with folks like yourself who will stand up and say, hey, I want to lead the city. Tell me a little bit about that, Jyoti. I've spoken with a number of mayoral candidates, just 2 or 3 so far. And you're the first that I've spoke to who is already very involved in city politics and you are already a councillor. Tell us a little bit about your experience in sort of standing up and being a leader in our city already and why you want to go to that next level of being our mayor.
You know what? It's a really good question. And I have to say, in 2017, when I ran for Ward 3 councillor, it was a decision that I did not make lightly. I kind of look back at all of the things I had been doing in the past decade, and I realized that I had been trying to influence change in city building from the outside. So I was on my local community association board. I was on my rec center board. I was a volunteer planning commissioner for 4 years. So I did all of these things from the edges. And at that time, I thought, I'm going to try to get a seat at the table. And with the support of Ward 3 voters, I've been incredibly proud to serve those communities for 4 years. We have had some really big wins, like infrastructure funding for our rec center. And we've had some small wins, like marked pedestrian crossings with rapid flash beacons. But everything that we've managed to gain in our community has been through the commitment of the people who live here, and being able to represent them is it's so rewarding and fulfilling. So when I took a step back in December of last year and thought about what I want to do next, I realized that I still had this desire to do public service in the greater good of Calgary. And I thought there are some pretty big things that need to happen. We need to manage our finances differently. Our budgeting process needs to change. And frankly, the systems within the city need to become more modernized, and we need to enable administration to try new things. So there's heavy work that needs to be done. And I was up for the task, and that's why I decided I'm going to try taking on this leadership role.
It's interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that. I explained to you slightly before we sort of hit record on the podcast a little bit, but, I tend not to be very political. And although I was very involved with student politics in high school a long time ago, early 80s we're talking, and sort of chosen not to be, going down that road sort of at this point in my life. So I find it interesting to have my perspective. So I'm sort of coming from, I don't know, in terms of our listeners, I assume my listeners are more like me, as opposed to like you or others that are strongly, swayed politically. Like as we enter this vote coming into October, I find it almost entertaining at how someone like myself can actually choose a leader. Like, to be honest, I haven't told a lot of people this. I frequently don't vote because I don't feel like I generally do my research, and like, how would I know? And you guys, in my perspective, tend to all be the same anyway. Which, as I do this podcasting, this interviewing, this process that I've embarked on, is simply not true. You're all very different with different platforms. Ward 3. What is Ward 3? And how does like a voter, or I guess really a Calgarian, know which vote they are in? And I guess, why do they care? I know I should know the answer to both those questions. Can you tell us a little bit about Ward 3? And why, what encompasses Ward 3, and how does a Calgarian find out what ward they're in?
Yeah, for sure. You know what? I love what you're asking here, because I don't think people are much different than you. I think people need a reason to vote, and people like to have a sense of purpose when they're voting. And so if candidates are not compelling enough for people to come out and vote, that's on us. We need to make sure that we're giving you reasons to vote for us and to vote in an election. So Calgary has 14 wards, and those wards are all over the city. Ward 3 is North Central. Ward 3 has always existed, but in its current format, it's only been in existence for 4 years. So it encompasses everything west of the Deerfoot. So the 4 hills communities of Country, Harvest, Panorama, and Coventry. Did I say Harvest Hills too? Yeah, so the 4 hills, Livingston and Carrington, and then Hidden Valley. Ward 3 will be picking up Sandstone and McEwen after October 18th. So it's North Central Calgary. And you can go on to the City of Calgary website and see which ward you are in. You can look at a map. It'll identify which community and which ward. It's also easy with Google. You can just type in the name of your community and then type in the word ward in Calgary, and it'll bring it up for you. So that's how you can get educated on where you are and who your options are. But to your bigger question about why would I vote as an average Calgarian, I think we're in a very interesting position in our city right now. I think we've seen that our general tendency to attach our reputation to the reputation of our province has been good for us in the past. But I think if we're going to move forward, we need to make sure that as a city, we are standing up and talking about who we are. Right now, we are incredibly well positioned to say, we are the center of excellence for the transition economy. We understand oil and gas had its heyday. We understand that we did well in a carbon-based economy. We now understand the unintended consequences. We are ready to transition into something more sustainable. That's what every global energy company is saying. I want them to hear that from us so that they put their headquarters here. So I think Calgary's got an important opportunity to identify who we are and establish our own reputation. And I would like Calgarians to get behind that and really come out and vote for leaders that show you what a progressive future looks like.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Tell me a little bit about you yourself, Jyoti. Where are you? I assume you live in Ward 3. Is that a fair question? How long have you been in Calgary? Tell us a little about your family. What do you love about Calgary?
Oh my goodness. You know what? I came to Calgary in 1997. I'm originally from Manitoba. I had a little stint for a year in Wainwright, where my husband was doing some work with the military base there. And I decided to apply for a job at Credit Union Central of Alberta. I was fortunate enough to do some marketing and strategic planning with that organization for a few years. I worked for Greyhound Canada for a number of years. And then I started my own consulting company called Tick, as in what makes you tick. And for 12 years, I worked with a lot of different companies in the city, and I built strategies for them that would allow them to be more collaborative with their stakeholders, particularly the land development and building industry. I found that when they were building communities, they were at odds with the regulator, which was the City of Calgary. And so I tried to do work that allowed both sides to see that the ultimate goal is to serve the citizens. So if you're going to build great communities, you need to work together and not continually be fighting with each other. So it's that kind of work and, volunteer experiences in my community that led me to run, as I've mentioned. But yeah, I've been up in Ward 3 since the end of 97 in Coventry Hills and then in Panorama Hills. I have got a 16-year-old kiddo. I've got a 2-year-old dog. I've got a husband. We just celebrated our silver jubilee.
Which is 35 years maybe? I'm not
25. 25.
Wow.
Yeah, I got another 10 to go for 35. But my mom also lives in our house with us. We have a multi-generational family. So I'm really able to view the city and our lives in the city from 3 different perspectives. That of someone who's sort of sandwich generation. I see how our city is sometimes accessible and at other times isolating for my mom. And I see how a 16-year-old can have incredible independence at times. But we also restrict the areas of the city that our kids can get to. So I bring that holistic frame to the decision-making that I do.
Interesting. I'm curious again, sort of looking back at the wards and councillors, and as I've been sort of paying attention slightly, I understand that there's a little bit, or is it true? Is there infighting amongst councillors? How important is it for the mayor to get along with the councillors? In terms of the leadership of the mayor? And how does one be influential as a leader of the mayor to make, do you know what I'm getting at? How important is the mayor position at, massaging and loving all the councillors loving on the mayor? Is that a fair question or thought?
It's a really good question, actually. It's an interesting one. And let me give you the technical component first. So the position of mayor is actually the chief elected officer of the city.
Yeah.
So in every municipality, you have a chief elected officer, and for ours, it's the mayor, and then you have 14 members of council. So that's the technical side of things, and that's also why the mayor is sometimes, the official representative of the city, because you are the chief elected officer. But I think,
And does everybody in the city, they get to vote for a councillor in their ward plus a mayor?
yes, absolutely.
And plus maybe a school trustee, is that it?
School board trustee, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's really, really important in this election.
I thought so too. That was like the one position I actually sort of perceived as being really important over these years. Sorry.
No, that's good. I think the thing that happens sometimes is we get excited about choosing a mayor and a councillor, and we forget about school board trustee.
Really?
But I think people need to realize that these are the folks that are in charge of our kids' education.
Exactly.
So we need to do research on all three of those. And, to your question about how important it is for the mayor to get along with everyone, I think the most important thing the mayor can do is build a sense of team, a sense of camaraderie, and to allow the differences between councillors to exist in a respectful manner. So I don't think there's anything wrong with people having different opinions and perspectives, because your experiences in life shape who you are and how you feel about things. But the most important thing that the mayor can do is, chair a meeting that is respectful and civil in its tone, and to really have the relationships with members of council that allow you to say, okay, I can see all three of your ideas are interesting. What if we tried it this way? And then you could all get what you needed to some degree. I think those are the kinds of conversations that the mayor needs to have to make sure that people feel that they've been heard, and that you're able to collaborate on getting the best possible result for Calgarians.
Mm-hmm. And then again, sort of like the ward differences and the mayor. How is it like in terms of a nice council or a nice group of city leaders? I mean, I personally think of myself as Calgarian. I don't necessarily think of myself as the guy that lives in the community I live in. I really do feel myself a Calgarian, and I love all the quadrants of Calgary. And I think that the diversity in the city is awesome. I love the Beltline. I love the far northeast, the in southeast. Like I love it all. And so is it like as a ward councillor, are you like just fighting for your ward? Or is there a bigger picture? I'm here as a Calgarian. I'm curious on that. And the existing council, I suppose every council could be different depending on the year, and maybe the mayor. Is that true?
You know what? Every council is different simply because, there's different people with different experiences, and there's different things going on in the city. From my own personal experience, people are not so caught up in their ward that they forget about the rest of the city.
Good.
I think
Yeah.
we've
Happy
had
to
a
hear
council.
that.
Yeah, we've had a council that's very understanding of what's needed, and the Green Line is a wonderful example of that. North Central Calgary communities and Southern Calgary communities needed this infrastructure project, and council banded together on a 14-1 decision to move that project forward. So I would say it's a balance. You have to have everyone's best interest at heart, but sometimes you do have to fight for your ward. In my ward, for example, there was times when we were overlooked for infrastructure funding in the past. So I had to make sure that I kept our needs as a priority throughout the city. But there are times that I've, gone to bat for established communities. I mean, I remember finding a $30 million pool of money that we established as a seed fund to ensure that established communities are getting public realm improvements when they go through redevelopment. So I'm happy to help where it's needed because, like you, I enjoy all parts of the city, and I make sure I get out to all the different neighborhoods and see what's needed and understand from folks like you what it is you're looking for.
Neat. In the your how many of the mayor candidates are actually coming from the experience of you, like an existing councillor? Is there just a couple, or?
There are 3 of us who are existing councillors. There are 22 people in the race. Everybody's got a different background. Nobody's got my background. We're all very different people.
I find it kind of interesting. I would think that like the councillor experience would be a huge asset. You kind of have that knowledge of the current inner workings of the city.
Yeah.
I mean, for me to run for mayor, which I actually, understand I can. I mean, I guess anyone can, is what I'm finding out.
You can until September 20th. Get your name in.
No, thank you. That's curious to me that I would think that, the experience that you have would be a great asset to you and the city, and then, us as people. Just thought on that. Let's sort of rapid fire question. Let's without going down the road too far, and maybe to get things started. Can you name 3 communities in each of the quadrants? Let's start with Northwest. Just any 3 communities.
Tuscany, Royal Oak, Rocky Ridge.
Okay, this is a fun game. How about the Northeast?
Oh, in the Northeast, there's Falcon Ridge, Castle Ridge, Skyview.
And Southeast?
Southeast, I'm trying to do the map in my head. You've got Auburn Bay, Mahogany, Seton.
Nice. And Southwest?
Southwest has a ton. So you've got Oak Ridge, you've got Lakeview, you have got, oh goodness, all of the ones on the west side, like West Hills and all of those, Bank Hill.
Yeah. Good. You've done it.
Do the map in my head.
It's a little challenging. One of my listeners suggested that question, and she's very political, actually. So, or has been, and is that's her mojo, and so she has to step aside a little bit to not to think what of her priorities in life, me around her own self and family kind of thing, as opposed to bench beating flags or her current passions. How about another listener asked a question about I said, if you were, what would you want to know about your mayor? What's your thoughts on bike lanes in the city?
I think bike lanes, when we call them that, become a very divisive topic for people. I think what we need to step back and think about is, what is a road supposed to be used for? And I think we spent a long time making sure our road infrastructure moves vehicles quickly and efficiently. I think we forgot about the fact that people also walk, and so we need a strong pedestrian experience, and people also wheel. So if we are not creating the type of roadway that accommodates all of those things, we are not going to be a future-focused city. So instead of having that oppositional stance of pro or anti-bike lane, I would say our mobility corridors need to be better. We need to have room for bus rapid transit on there as well. So we need to accommodate all types of ways that people move around.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And what about the current sort of art infrastructure project? And as a councillor, I would think that you might be more aware of this sort of question than maybe others that have not been councillor experienced. Do you have any? And the viewer or the listener who asked about this question, theirs was more about a rant. In that, I think Calgary has a mandate to support international artists in our public art spaces, and his thoughts were that there's enough artists in Calgary that could do the work and receive the income, and I think it all in the hearts of Calgary, and it sort of comes from an awareness around the blue ring, right? And it seems it seems like a bit of an insult, a little bit in the face of Calgarians every time we drive to the airport. At least that's to me. It's a little bit of a joke and a little bit of a pain point, depending on how prosperous I am personally feeling.
What's interesting about the blue ring, which is traveling light is the actual name of it. It's in my ward, and I remember it went up, and I went, "What is this now?" There was no engagement with the public. It was very random. Yeah. And I think we learned a lot of lessons about the public art program, and why when you only fixate public art on the infrastructure that helped fund it, you don't always get the best result. Now, traveling light is interesting because some people love it, some people hate it, but it's there. The other example I can give you in my ward is we've got the world's longest mural along one of our fences in Coventry Hills. That project was started by the community. The artists that participated in it engaged with community. Community was able to come out and sort of do a paint by numbers scheme on it. People love it because it's us. It represents us. We were actually asked, what would you like to see in this art project? And so I think the transformation of the public art program now, where it's being managed with Calgary Arts Development Authority, is that we have now got experts in the arts saying, this is how we best engage with Calgarians when we bring the public art program to bear. And it's not excluding local talent. The international component is something we need to consider when we put the call out. We can't dismiss international artists, but we are definitely about making sure that local talent gets highlighted as well. So the public art program that's funded from infrastructure dollars is a very specific thing, but we've also done some really cool things like, those wraps around utility boxes. Yeah, those are local artists. So,
Yeah.
we're trying our best to make sure that people have a chance to have their work profiled.
And personally, I love the art that I see in Calgary and feel like you've done a good job as the city and the public. Do you know, is that how, maybe our current council feels about our project? What's the general feeling about that? What did you call the program? Is it public art?
The public art program. So this
Public art
council
program.
actually, we changed the way that the public art program works, and we took it out of administration and are working with a third party to make sure we do the best possible job for Calgarians when it comes to public art. But I think the really interesting thing is in 2018, this council determined that we needed to bolster funding for the creative sector because it was an important economic driver. It was something that, helps newcomers, it helps students. The brain development opportunities available to our young people because we have a strong creative sector is just amazing. So we bolstered our funding of arts and the creative sector by 70% in the 4-year budget that followed, and we've maintained that commitment. So I think this council has done some really good work around it.
I tend to agree. Do you think, I personally, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being awesome, how good is the public art funded program right now?
You know what? I think we will get to a 10. I don't think
Yeah.
we're there yet. I think in the years that we did not engage properly and in the years that we did not involve experts properly, we were not performing well. And I think we need to own that and say we have now found a way to get better. And now the proof will be in the delivery of a better system.
It's the first day that you have just been elected by the people as the mayor. Who are some of your first calls that day or meetings with?
Oh my goodness. The other 14 winners, hands down, calling everybody else that won and congratulating them and letting them know that I'm interested in hearing why they ran, what they hope to accomplish, and what can I do to help them? What role can I play in their success for their award and the success of our city? So those would be the first calls. I can tell you from experience in 2017, the phone will be ringing off the hook with media and friends and family. So I think I will have limited opportunity to make calls. I'll be answering a lot of calls.
Very good. I guess in terms of sort of last questions, Jyoti, do you have I like to sort of combine a bit of a question. Do you have an ask of our listeners? And then if you had a billboard, maybe it's part of your ask, what would the billboard say? A billboard somewhere on some great street in Calgary.
My ask of listeners is this. It's pretty simple. There are many ways to research who's running, why they're running, and there are many ways to engage with us. I mean, I've spent the last 7 months doing Zoom calls like this with all kinds of people. We're calling them coffee parties. Anybody can book them through the website, and I have had anywhere from 2 to 5 of these every day. So I'm talking to, between 5 and 100 Calgarians every day to find out what's important to them. So you need to choose candidates who are willing to engage with you and answer your questions. So please do your research. As you mentioned, it's a mayoral candidate, it is a council candidate, and a school board trustee that you will be voting for. So make sure that you understand what they represent and that your values align. And, in terms of the billboard, the big thing you have to do, it's politics. It's got to be your name and it's got to be for mayor. And I'm not a big believer in slogans. I think slogans and catchphrases and jingles just sort of, it's kitschy, it's catchy.
They're just slogans.
Yeah, they're just slogans. It's a lot more complicated of a job than a slogan. So I think it's important to know who's running, and that's what you need to put on the billboard. And then everything else you need to know about me, I'm happy to chat. You can look at the website. I have done a ton of podcasts. You can get to know your candidates very, very well.
Great. And the best way to reach out to you, Jyoti?
Is just to go to the website. That's the easiest way. Anybody that's on social media platforms and pretty active there, you can find out what's going on and see what the team is up to on any given day. We just did a couple of fun events this weekend. Bark Mitzvah was one of my favorite ones. We did a Mela at Prairie Winds Park. Next week, we're going to be doing some cool stuff too. So yeah, come participate.
It's incredibly busy for you and all the candidates, and how you run these campaigns, and find it quite interesting. Jyoti, I want to thank you very much for being on the show. And I actually want to personally thank you for standing up for our city. And I'm so inspired by people like yourself who will stand up and say, I feel I can do better, or I can do good. I can leave my mark. And it's a true honor to sit and meet with you today. And I will look forward to following and watching and participating.
Well, I have to say thank you. Like, this opportunity was wonderful. It's when Calgarians like you are interested in engaging that we can get the message out. So thank you for showing an interest. And I appreciate your time today.
Wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
And I'll hit end record.